Okay guys, we should be live now. Thanks again for joining me. And I hope you enjoyed the previous live stream of our game today. Even though we had a lot of technical difficulties, we're sort of working towards resolving those in the future. And today I thought I'd work on some building of a large scale model, which is Eltahrion. As I'm really excited about this High Elf project at the moment, so I'll just start clipping away and cleaning all the flash and that kind of thing off this model. I'm going to use my magnifying glasses too. As Alice is here, very good, and Dave, thank you, and Speedboat. That's great, guys. And thank you very much for joining me. I'm not alone, so that's nice. So my little magnifying glasses on here, so I can see really nice up and close here to see what I'm doing. So clipping off all the tags and that kind of thing. That's the first thing I'll do. The foot tag I'll leave in there because I need to attach that to the base, and I like a nice solid tag like that. These parts are okay, the wings are fine. Again, I've only got one claw, so the other claw I need to press mold using some putty. Now this is the Tamiya putty that I'll be using for this model tonight. So it's just like an epoxy putty, so just like green stuff, but this is a kind of like a, I don't know, greenish grey stuff I suppose, but it's from the Tamiya range. And I quite like this because it's nice and soft and pliable. And I just prefer this particular brand rather than green stuff, as green stuff's quite hard to purchase unless you get it online. So lots of this flash here that we need to get off here as well on the model. So I'll get my trusty knife to help me. Okay, so let's try to get these little tags off here. And if you have any questions as I go along with this video, then please ask them. I encourage that kind of thing. And this is such a grand model. This is the first. Well, this was the first large-scale model I've ever painted. Back when I was maybe 18, 19, I think. So this brings back a lot of memories, and thank you again, Daniel, for sending me this treasure. This is not the soft lead that I was used to. This is actually the tin metal mix that the Americans started using back in the day. So it's good actually. It's actually good for these really large scale models because it doesn't suffer from the old droopiness that the old leads, the soft old lead would have, especially in those large creatures. They would often bend and droop at the weak points on their bodies if they had some sort of counterbalance issue. Straighten up that sword there as well. So I hope you guys are having a good morning. I think that most people are having a good morning. Is it called pewter? Possibly. I think it was just called white metal back in the day. Maybe also living in Japan as a war game. All those awesome ranges of tools and other hobby materials available right around the corner. I picked up a bunch of stuff when I was there 3 years ago. Oh, that's great. Okay, cool. I'm glad you made it to Japan. It's a really exciting place to come to, and that's what I got. That's when I basically fell in love with the place when I first got here. It was just so incredible, so different from what I normally am used to. So yeah, I found it very hard to leave the place. Plus, I find Japanese girls very cute, so it sort of worked hand in hand for me actually in the long run. It was just an inevitable thing that I was going to, find a Japanese woman to settle down with and live here eventually. So yeah, I'm glad you got here, mate. And yeah, it's a beautiful place for hobby and that kind of stuff. I think I might have mentioned in the other video that we did have a place that sold an enormous range of all different kinds of hobby tools and materials, but sadly that place had closed probably about 1.5 years ago now, or something like that, I'd say. And that was like really in the heart, like at the train station where we live, where they had all the video games and all that kind of thing, all the like the Gundam kits and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to give this guy a bit of a quick clean. I do have some nice needle files here. And we just need to check all those mold lines because they're quite a pain to get off after priming a model. And you don't want to get into the stage of priming it and then finding out all the mold lines are still there. That's really awful. So Powerwolf, welcome, mate. Thank you for joining us. It's pewter. I'm always 100% sure of that, although I have also heard it called white metal. Yeah, you're probably right, mate. It probably is pewter. You probably know more about it than I do. I just remember that those blisters had white metal on it, and the white metal was just referring to pewter because maybe this, I don't know why, probably just a name they sort of thought and coined at the time that it'd be better than just calling it pewter, I guess. But it's a lot harder, it's a lot more rigid, and people, from the US would have probably enjoyed using this particular form of metal to work with. I found a bit of a pain at the beginning because I thought, God, it's so bloody hard to work with, so incredibly strong. And now I really prefer it actually, especially for these big, large model kits. They're perfect. It's a perfect material for it. And I guess that I think the guys at Corvus Belli, they use the same kind of material for their miniatures now, which is a good move actually, because they need it for very very fine and fiddly kind of parts on it. Dave Lister says, I'm painting a lovely 1996 Wood Elf mounted mage at the moment. Anyone else in the chat painting? Well, that's great, Dave. I'd like to see it. It's a Gary Morley sculpt. That's very good. Yeah, I hope you can post up your images on the Hero Hammer group soon, because I'd love to see your progress. It's probably for the Old World Army Challenge, which I have to admit, I haven't actually started anything for that yet. We've got 3 Minotaurs to paint, so I was just thinking about that this evening and thinking, yeah, I should really get on that this week during the evenings and get that done. For my good old mate, Jesse. Jesse called me through the week, I probably told you, and thanked me again for doing this for him, painting up this army for him. So he's a really lovely guy, I think. Jesse, I've never actually met him in person, but I know, having talked to him, he's a really, really lovely guy, real genuine sort of person. And I'm really glad that we've made contact now, and I can say the same for many people that I've met through here, like Rob and Dave, and now Rafael as well this morning. In the live chat, they're really genuinely good people. So I'm really, really quite blessed in having such great friends around the world now. And Alistair, of course, my mate Alistair. So he's really looking forward to seeing this being put together. Army Challenge that we're going to do. So it's going to be destined for probably after August, I'd say. Probably announced a lot before that. I want to announce it sort of soon. But so people can get ready, getting their collections ready for like a 2,000 point army, posting up pictures and sending it to me so that we can do like a sort of intro video into the people's projected 2,000 point armies that they're going to paint, and the challenge will begin in I'm guessing September. So I hope you guys are painting. What are we saying here? Let's see. Yes, I'm working from home. I'm in the process of painting 12 High Elf archers for the 4th head. Oh, very good. This is Lucky. Hey, Lucky, how you going, mate? Thanks for joining us. and I'm glad you're painting those because I'll be doing the same, mate. So please post your images up. Even if you just send them to me, I'll upload them to the channel, mate. So that's good inspiration for people like myself. Because, you know, it is a challenge in itself painting 12 High Elf archers. Especially the monopose ones, you know, anything monopose, it's real grind. But it's very rewarding when you finish it. And it's done, and you know, you can look at them and say that they're really beautiful, and that's probably the best thing I can do, you know what I mean? Get these bloody tags off here. So Speedboat says, I'm not painting at the moment, but also cleaning and converting. I'm building a Dark Elf leader for the first scenario of the Tears of Isha campaign. Awesome. Morthador, I think his name is. Okay, well that's great. Okay, awesome. Anything to do with the campaigns, I'm very, very much in favour of. I love those campaigns. And I would love to see people playing more of them. How about we do that for the channel? You know, how about we do that for the channel? How about we organise something for the channel for that? Now, maybe someone else can host it in the future. I've talked to a couple of people about that, and we sort of talked about it, and people are very keen to doing the campaigns, which I'm very keen on doing too, because I really love those campaigns. And we can do them consecutively over three weeks, or four. Actually, it's 4 weeks, isn't it? Because it's four scenarios, isn't it? So there's always three. Sort of very small 1,000 point to 1,500 point games, and the last one's like a 3,000 point game. Wow, 3,000 point games can be huge. But we can do it. Tears of Isha is terrific fun. I haven't actually played it, so I'm really interested in playing it. So if anybody wants to host it and invite me to play it, I'll be very keen to do it, or you know, get friends to play it with you and tell us about it. That'd be great. Tears of Isha. So that's High Elves, and who's with the High Elves? Is it Dark Elves, I'm presuming? Presuming it's Dark Elves versus High Elves in that one. Okay, so the tail has also got a tag here. Now I should really be using gloves, or just putting a band-aid on my thumb, because I'm going to get a lot of cuts on my thumb using this knife. I have been doing this for over 20 years, so I've got lots of cuts and wounds to prove it, and I'm probably going to end up with lots of cuts in my thumb. It's just that, you know, I'm used to it now. I'm like a bit of a flagellant, really. I'm sort of, you know, into self-harm and that kind of stuff. Just kidding, but that's what it feels like. So yeah, if you're you're not a crazy zealot like me, just get a band-aid and wrap a band-aid or some kind of masking tape around your finger. I might actually do that now, around your thumb, because it's so it does make sense me doing that, because I'm going to end up with lots and lots of little cuts in my thumb, which is going to be a pain later. So I'm just removing any kind of anything that's going to be a pain to assemble it later on, and just making sure there's any flash or any of those little tags on there. I want to get them removed. Any mold lines on any part of the model. I'm going to get some files out in a minute. As you can see, there's a lot of flash already on that cutting board at the moment too. Speedboat says, I'm sure so. I've collected a bunch of stuff for the campaign so far. 40 of the old metal Corsairs for the first scenario alone. That'll be fun to paint. And Angel, hello, you kind gentleman. I made it. Very good. I'm very so glad that you're here, mate. You know, I consider you one of my friends too, my dear friends. So, and if you haven't seen Angel's incredible paint jobs on the Hero Hammer group, I really recommend you go see him and see his post there, because that Demon Slayer he's painted up, like, you know, dead set. It looks like something out of the White Dwarf magazines. I was almost convinced it was. So he's a very talented guy and very generous in his time. You know, for you guys as for a prize that we're going to do. Well, I might actually talk to Angel about doing that for the army challenge, and making that kind of like either a month, the first month or the second month, like a random prize raffle draw for the entrance in that army challenge. So let me talk to Angel about that first, how we're going to do that, because he wanted that. He wanted to award it to somebody for painting and that kind of thing. So, Powerwolf says, JB Weld is a nice thing to have for metal and big models. Okay, JB. It's for cold welding engine blocks together and tends to be quite good for keeping minis together. It takes 24 hours to set fully. Okay. Angel, not painting minis, but making some illustrations for my work. Wow. Okay. Well, I'd love to see your illustration work. Jank Master. The only annoying thing about the white metal is that it's sometimes brittle. Hey, Jank Master, you're here. You're always here, mate. You're a dedicated follower. I can't thank you enough, my sir. And I'm going to nominate you as the moderator from now and forever, as long as I do this kind of thing. Because you, my friend, are always here and always helping, and I always appreciate that. So consider yourself the first nominated moderator, my friend. Okay, so the issues I had with that model I pinned yesterday, I'm guessing that they might have happened, it may have happened in shipping. Okay. Yeah, the white metal, it shouldn't be brittle. It shouldn't be brittle. It should be like rock bloody hard. Like, you know, you need a pair of pliers to bend the bloody stuff. It's that incredibly tensile. It's hard as nails, mate, this stuff. So yeah, I'm really surprised it's brittle. Resin for me is incredibly brittle, and it's so brittle that I just hate using it. I hate using this stuff. That's why I'm just a solely metal or plastic guy. Resin miniatures do not do anything for me. So Dave says, have you ever tried Coat d'Arms paints? I find they are a good match for the tail hex. Yes, okay. Yeah, they are, and they're really good. And like I've got some of the Coat d'Arms paints. Oh, these are the first 3 paints that I actually bought. The only issue I have with them is that they're very translucent, like as in, and I've got that bloody camera the wrong way around. Let me just fix the camera, guys. Okay, let me just fix this camera because I've got it the wrong way around or something like that. Sorry about that, I didn't realise it until right now. It's sort of way off. So hopefully that's a bit better. Sorry for the disorientation there. I hope no one got sick as I rotated that camera around. I'm a silly bugger, aren't I? Eh? I've had too much vodka this afternoon, so that's probably why. I'm not a heavy drinker, I just like a drink on the weekends. So don't get worried. Let's see. Now I like using these files I bought like, wow, many years ago. I can still remember buying it in Brisbane. A whole set for about $10, and they're still perfectly usable today. But I do quite like these round kind of files, these little needle files, especially for like rounded areas of models that I'm cleaning up. So I'm going to give this a good clean and good run through here with the old needle file. War Colours do a Nostalgia. Yes, I've heard about this Nostalgia 88 set. And I'm really quite interested in having a go at those. So they're from War Colours. Okay. A bit more opaque from what I know than Tokyo. Okay, so they're more opaque, so I'm probably more interested in those ones. And I do love the style and the labelling on the bottles and that kind of thing. It's like it's the original paint sets basically. Even though I do prefer the old dropper bottles, but I quite like the nostalgia of the War Colours paint sets, and I might be tempted just to grab maybe 10 or 12 paints of those and just try them out. Like, why not? Yeah, no, it's not a Dark Elf Chimera, mate, sorry. It's just me, mate, it's just me. I'm just bloody old and fuzzy-wuzzied in the head. I think that's what it is. I did have a sleep this afternoon. I woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning for this game this morning, and after and it wasn't Rob's fault. It's just all the technical difficulties and that kind of thing. I don't think we actually started till 8 until Rafael got to join in, and then I think after that, as soon as we finished the game, I sort of packed up, and then we went downstairs, went out for lunch, and then we went out for shopping. And with the family, and then I came back and I just crashed out for like about 30 minutes. I just slept for 30 minutes in the aircon because it's so hot here. It's about 35 degrees here. That's Celsius, by the way. And yeah, just totally crashed out. And then had to do some uni work. So I've been pretty full on this week. And I think now, I've had a few drinks. My wife said, "Do you want a vodka?" And I said, "Oh yeah, that sounds all right." Won't say no. The bigger mistake. So Angle says, I bought 24 from Nostalgia War Colours and only matched 2 of them. Elf Grey and Ghoul Grey, the rest didn't match. Okay. So you probably mentioned before, but which manufacturer made your Black Orcs? Okay. Well, they are Kev Adams sculpts, yes, and they're from, well, they were from Harlequin Miniatures, but then they changed to Black Tree Design, and now they've changed again. They've changed the name again. I don't know why, but I think the company's changed hands or something like that. They've had a bit of a bad rep for shipping and that kind of thing. A lot of people had a lot of issues with placing orders, then waiting up to 6 months for shipping. I don't even know if they're available, so go online, Ankel, and if I actually get his name, the gentleman's name. Sorry, but he told me that there's another link for that new website, and they have the whole range of models there, and they should have all the old Kev Adams ones there as well. I hope so, because they're such great miniatures, and I hope they're still producing them, as I know they're very, very popular. He did like whole heap of Night Goblins too as well, but they're like much larger in scale. There's a bit of a tag here I need to get rid of. And so yeah, they're worth definitely checking out, and maybe they've sorted out all their packaging and shipping issues now. But I guess it'd be different from depending where you are in the world, I guess. Alrighty. Okay, now this one is this side, isn't it? Is it this side? Which one are we missing? We're missing the left-hand side, aren't we? So this must be the right-hand side. Trying to get that flash off there. I'm glad I put that tape on my thumb now, otherwise my thumb will be just cut to ribbons. Yeah. Now I like using a flat needle file. I'll have a look at my little bits box here for a flat one, if I can find one. Should be able to find one here. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. See, yeah. God, where are they? They've disappeared. It's so bloody small, I can't find them. Oh, God, stuff falling on my lap. Here we go. We found a couple of here. Just chuck those on the board there. Maybe you can see those. Got a nice flat one here. I'm just going to do that on the file this down. Now, and I'm not going to wash it now, but after I've put it together, I'm going to wash it with some soap and some warm water. After I applied all the green stuff, all the epoxy resin and that kind of thing. Okay, so what have we got here in comments? Powerwolf, you mentioned you worked for a studio at one point in time. I'm curious, can you say whether or not airbrushes were ever something that was used for priming, painting, etc.? They weren't, mate. They weren't. I've never seen an airbrush in my life until. Certainly not in the studio. That no one used one in the studio. Maybe the scenery builders used one, but I'm not 100% sure of that. I would imagine they would have used one, but certainly not the miniature painters. But I didn't actually see one until maybe about 10 years ago, when they sort of became more in vogue with the miniature painters for some reason. I don't know whether or who started it, but yeah, they became more of a thing, and the local game shop had one, and that's where I picked one up from, and I sort of never looked back. But that was mainly for doing terrain for Infinity the game, and it involved a lot of terrain and just using MDF, and the airbrush seemed like a very practical way of painting like large masses of flat surfaces very quickly. So that's where I got that from. And then I started priming my miniatures using an airbrush, and sort of never looked back on it, really. Whereas Coat the Arms Recoat Series 2, yes, they do that. The problem are the old 80s paints. I tried Army Painter Vallejo Scale 75 P3 and used a little paint, but not find matching for some colours. Yeah, mate, I think that's just going to be, that's just life, I guess. It's just that you're not going to find the correct matches for everything you had back in those days. But those equivalents are going to be as close as you're ever going to get. And I love all those original paint sets. No one's ever going to beat those paints. It's not just the box art, it's just the quality of the paints themselves, the colours, yeah, no manufacturer is ever going to get close to the original stuff. For me. And that's real old hammer. I still remember buying those in the comic shop when I used to visit them and buy my supplies and that kind of thing, whatever they had on the shelf, and buying all those paint sets. I think the Epic set was my favourite. Which set was your favourite from that particular era? I remember the Epic set being really, really nice. It's some really beautiful colours in there. Probably because I was painting Epic at the time a lot, at that time. And the green they had in there was just so good. It's like a camouflage green. It's a very earthy brown green. It's such a great colour. Okay. Now, does he need a bit of a touch up here? So hopefully you guys are painting or putting some models together or something as we're doing this together in live stream. I'll do it for as long as people are willing to watch and ask questions and that kind of thing. As long as it's interesting and informative for you guys, then I'll do them for you. How about we put Eltahrion on his little saddle here. Let's check the comments. Okay. Powerwolf, seems strange to me that airbrushes aren't really talked about much, seeing as they are synonymous with scale modelling. It sounds silly, but I'd love to know where the current studio use them. Yeah, I'd imagine they would do, actually. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, they're silly if they're not really. You know, imagine painting like 100 Space Marines without an airbrush. I couldn't imagine doing that now. Engel says, yes, a lot of military colours. My favourite was a 1mm drill bit into the centre of this throne, or his little chair, seat, whatever you want to call it. Dave says, could you comment a bit about the old painting techniques versus modern ones? Dave says, I was reading the Heavy Metal Painting Guide and noticed that McVeigh defined glazing as a very differently from how glazing understood these days. Mate, these days I wouldn't know what the bloody hell these guys are doing, because there's so many techniques I don't even understand the wording for them. They're labeling all these different things. I didn't even understand it when it was back in the Cool Mini or Not days. Totally bamboozled by it. But I guess the old ways of painting, you know, are very practically done. And it just depends on, you know, painter per painter, I guess. But some would, you know, rely on inks very heavily. Some wouldn't. Some would, you know, blend a lot more than others. Some would just do the old style of, you know, placing a very thin line highlight around the edging of models on their armor or on their clothing or what have you. I think nowadays it's very much a case of like source lighting and you know, realism. I think realism is a real big part of these top painters now that you see on YouTube or Facebook mentioned, like, you know, Fraser Gray and that kind of thing, which I really like. I really like seeing his work. I think he's a really, really talented painter. But, you know, what he's doing is really quite different from what, you know, the guys did back in the studio back in the day. Those techniques are just, you know, they're almost coming from the point of, you know, 2D artists or graphic artists and that kind of thing. It's something very different. I guess you could say you could almost define like the Hirohama age as more like a cartoon style. You know, it's sort of it's kind of reliant on making colours more vibrant and more distinctive, rather than being realistic. Would be my sort of take on it. Just grabbing some little bits of these paper clips, aren't they? And let's see, I need my, what the hell did I do with them? Wow, that's weird, they're gone. My cutters, where the hell did I put them? I've also picked them up and put them somewhere and I've forgotten where to put them. That's great. Okay, let me just give me a second. I just need to find those. Wow, that's very weird. They've disappeared. Oh, here they are here. God. I'm going nuts. I'm going absolutely nuts. They're just sitting here. And here I'm looking around like I'm some kind of blind old bat. First stage of dementia. Okay, now, comments. Okay, so Powell was saying he came into the hobby when Two Towers were released, and the first sort of minis were being made for that, but there was still a lot of old school minis floating around then. Yes, they were. Didn't like most older miniatures at the time, but I've become fond of them and nostalgic, I guess. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, you know, McVeigh has a completely different style, and I don't know how he does it, but he's such a talented guy. I'd like to know how he actually got into the studio. Actually, how, like, what age he was. I'm imagining he's like 16 or something like that when he first joined. And, like, you know, if you see his like really early stuff that he did, it's not the same as what he did after that. So he just, you know, his skill just boosted, you know, in like a year or two when he first joined there, and he developed his own style, and it just became this really iconic style, I guess, that defined the whole era. And everybody wanted to be like Mike McVeigh and painted the same way. Yeah, that's true, Dave. Yeah, you could say that. Illumination style versus realism. Yep. Solid bright primary colours and flat 2D perspective. Yeah, that's true. I think that's a very good way of using some kind of analogy or analysis on the different types of styles. Yeah, I can see that. That's very true. Speedbat says the terminology just wasn't very fixed in the 80s, 90s. Painters back then certainly used techniques that were still used, but I don't think they necessarily made the same distinctions we do now. Yeah, possibly, mate. You know, like if you look at the old, like I used to have those really old, early, the books on the not heavy metal, like the Golden Demon books, and you know, those paint styles are just wild. You know, like they're really, really quite incredibly different from what you would see nowadays. I think if someone painted like that nowadays, they'll probably just sort of palm it off and say, "Oh no, that's awful, that's rubbish," and wouldn't give it a second glance. But you know, there was some kind of there was some very, very different and something very unusual sort of paint styles back in the very, very early days when people started painting miniatures, especially fantasy miniatures. That I think it was just like kind of a freedom for all kind of attitude, and you know, people just painted whatever they wanted and whatever colours or whatever styles, and it gave an enormous amount of freedom for painters and artists and that kind of thing back then in Australia. But I wish I still had that book now, because it had all the really early you know, pre-slaughter Citadel miniatures from the studio back then, and you could see a lot of, you know, influence from that kind of style of painting, where, you know, people just painted whatever the hell they wanted to, whatever their sort of imaginings were, and it was very dark, and I really quite liked it. Okay, so joining these two parts of the body together, I don't think I'm going to bother pinning it. I think the glue and the putty will suffice for that. So we're just going to put some glue on here. Now this glue in Japan is the best stuff I've ever used. I found a lot with Japanese glues. It's bloody brilliant. Brilliant stuff. The stuff that you normally buy from hobby shops is terrible. Just found it just never would stick and never would hold. But I've had people, you know, when I've sold them infinity miniatures, like just lead ones, some guy messaged me and said, you know, what the hell did you use for the glue on these guys, because I can't pull them apart. It's this stuff here, if you can see it under the camera. Yeah, you probably can't get it anywhere else. What is it? Oh, wow, I just dropped it. That was pretty good. So what does it actually say in katakana? Aron aru fura, whatever that means. Extra. So yeah, this stuff's really good. I use this stuff all the time. I just get it from the local hardware. It costs about $5 a pot. Lasts me a month or so if I'm having a busy period of putting models together. But yeah, it welds stuff together, man. It's so bloody, it's so strong. I usually give it a good 24 hours before to let it fully set. But yeah, it's super strong stuff. Now you have like a bit of a gap here between the lower body and the upper body, which is going to happen when the molds, you know, distort or warp. So we're going to have to make a few changes there. I just left the top part quite flat and quite even on top here. So you are going to get some distortion in these old models. That's quite common in these sort of multi-part kits, but that's okay, we can work around that. Comments, here we go. Powerwolf says, with larger models, when it can get away with it, I just go through 2 pieces at once with Dremel clamping in a vise. Kills 2 birds with 1 stone, speeds everything up, and everything is aligned. Yeah, that's good too. You know, wish painters in scale modelling and mini painting would use all the same terms for everything, confuses newbies. Yeah, that's true. What is everyone's white whale? What one mini have you been looking for ages? That's a good question, Dave. The Japanese make fantastic craftsman tools and products in general. Yes, they do. Speedboat. It's still a kind of super glue. So, cyanoacrylic, acrylitate based, or something different. I don't know, mate. I need to translate it for you because it's all in kanji. I can't read kanji. I'm sorry. My Japanese is hopeless in general, so I'll need to translate that for you or something. That stuff sounds a bit like the JB Weld I mentioned earlier. It could be. It could be the same sort of stuff. And it feels that nowadays the hobby has got too professional. I think there's a place for, you know, all kinds of painters, you know, whether it just be a Joe Blow painter on YouTube that's sort of, you know, just battling it out and, you know, creating a following, pretty much like myself, to these, you know, like ultra super pro painters. I'm going to mention Dave. I think it's David Gray, the guy that the guy in England who does his own sort of like painting tutorials in schools, and it's got his own. I don't think he's got videos, but I see him on Facebook sometimes, and his stuff is really good, like really impressive stuff. But I like the old stuff, like cold lead painting. Really like his stuff too. That's kind of like the old style, kind of like Tim Prowl. He paints all the old school miniatures too. He does a lot of stuff with companies and that kind of thing. I really enjoy watching his stuff. He does some beautiful looking really old dwarfs, Perry Citadel stuff recently. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. He puts a lot of character in his painting. I really like it. So yeah, I think you know, some, yeah, you could say some are like maybe too professional. Some of them I just don't have a lot of time for a lot of them, to be honest. Like Travarian and that kind of thing. I think it's if I could be very blunt and honest, I think it's a bit wanky to be completely truthful. So all those kind of wanky kind of painting kind of stuff, I just do not engage in whatsoever. So Powerwolf says, fixing large gaps and resculpting it is immensely satisfying to me for some reason. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to improve your, working with green stuff or whatever kind of epoxy resin putty you're using, for sure. Sort of resculpting on feathers or part of the flesh, or just to match areas of model, that would be quite handy. Now let's see if Eltahrion can fit on this throne. He can't. Now I'm going to get a... Okay, so I can drill a bit further in there. It's not going to go through the other side, which wouldn't be a huge problem. I could probably do a long pin to go straight through the saddle into the mount. Probably would be the best idea. We'll see how we go. Okay, so it looks like he's going to fit on there okay. He won't go back any further because his hair's touching the back of the saddle. The next question would be, would I paint it as it's attached, which I probably will. I can make my way around the back ends there. It would be better just to paint it in separate parts. There's a big mold line down here, actually, I just noticed that. Yeah, there are many paint ranges, but I don't think that's such a bad thing. I mean, it's good for those businesses to offer maybe something different, but I guess, depending what you're making, if it's going to be superior to other paints. I mean, you wouldn't want to make a paint range that is inferior to other paint ranges. So I think Vallejo got in the right time when they did, because it was really the first big paint manufacturer that went all out and had an extensive range that's become very, very popular. Okay, so we're not going to do any puttying yet. Now, am I going to mess these wings up, or what? What am I going to do here? Am I going to put them on the right way? I think that's the correct way. Can people tell me if that's the correct way? I think that's right. This very small feathered part here should be the front. It shouldn't be like that. Yeah. There could be an alternative way as well. Yep, okay, Dave, thanks, mate. You're the go-to man on all these kind of things. Now, these will have to be pinned in, because if I don't pin them in, they're going to fall off, and that'll be sad. So, what we're going to do here is, with my BDI, I'm going to mark the center of this. Okay? So by marking the center of this part here and the center of that part there, they should align. Now Mike McVeigh did these books where he put like a very, very short pin in there, painted with some pen, stuck it into the join, and that would mark the point where you'd put the pin in. That's probably the correct and wise way of doing it, and makes a lot of sense, and Mike's a very smart guy, and he probably figured that out after making a few mistakes in doing that. Yep, wingtips up. That's right, Dave. Thanks, mate. So, should we do it the Mike McVeigh method? Should we do it the old school way? Show your hands. Or should we do it the the old Western way, the old Aussie way? Like, oh, should be right, mate, kind of style. The Josh method. If you leave it to me, I'll just do it my way. Do it by marking. Okay. All right, Jake Master. We'll do it by marking. So I hope you enjoyed it, Rob, today. The video for the game today with Raphael. He's a really nice guy, and yeah, we had fun. It was good. But I'm going to make the rule now that in future, the people that want to do this with me, have to have the magic set. They're going to have the Winds of Magic, they're going to have the magic cards, they're going to have the magic items, they're going to do all the drafting themselves, they're going to do all the magic phase themselves. I'm not going to do that for the other person. I think it would just make it for a much smoother gameplay experience. And I'm also thinking about moving the deployment zones up 18 inches for both players, and making it 4 turns, and that way I can sit on one side and I can just move the models from my sitting position without having to move anywhere. I'm getting a Bluetooth device this week. Justin's coming up next weekend with his Bluetooth device, so we're going to have Bluetooth on, so to make the audio better for you guys to watch. I know a lot of people probably won't be able to see it live because of times and that kind of thing, but I'm sure most people will be sleeping then or whatever, but you can watch it the next day. We'll just see how we go with it. Tour marking. Okay, did he come up with that himself? That's the technique I've been using for years and passing on to newbies getting frustrated with metal midis. I don't know, mate. I don't know if he invented himself. I just know that in those Citadel modelling guides, that's what Mike would do. I think he did it with this model. I think he put a very small pin in this side. So we're going to do that because the Jank Master has requested it. So we're going to do that. So we're going to put a very small pin in this side. We're going to put a bit of paint on one end. And you watch me, I'm probably going to stuff it up and put it in the wrong bloody socket. That's probably what's going to happen. Okay, we'll just leave it there and let it dry for a tick. So make sure it's nice and straight. Yep, straight. Okay. Now I'm going to put now this tail. I might have to offset the pin so it's going to go onto this sort of larger side of his buttock. Sort of off center there, I'd say, without trying to drill my finger. Anyone in this hobby will experience that. Just jamming the drill and it's slipping off and jamming straight into the tip of your finger. It's a wonderful experience. It knows that you're alive. Yeah, I realise that, mate. It's just that, I need your feedback on it. Like, it's just an idea for the 18-inch deployment. So it was just an idea for me that I could sit there and just move without moving around the table. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. We'll see how we go. on the tech front, how do you share the audio to YouTube, mate? I just don't. Well, basically, what I do is I run the OBE, the streaming software, through my phone. That's the app that's downloaded to my phone, and then I go onto YouTube, and then I obviously press go to stream it through the YouTube, and the audio is just it's going through the phone basically. So the further away I am from the phone, the less the audio quality will suffer from that, and the closer I am to the phone, the audio quality will be better. So and after Raphael said about the Bluetooth, I checked up on it, and they're not too expensive, so I thought I'd get one of those and just test out and see how it goes. So if that improves the quality of the audio for people listening, that'd be a good thing. And I guess the participants would have to just use some kind of headset in a quiet room where there'll be less, interference and that kind of thing in the background. It's going to be a bit harder because people are, probably in the summertime now with the air conditioning on and that kind of thing. So Dave, I'm going to mess this up, aren't I? Wings up, wing ticks up. Okay, so should be this side here. Okay, let's see how we go. Didn't bloody do it, you bastard of a thing. Oh, here we go. Still didn't do it, you bloody thing. Come on. Pin drill? Bloody hell. I've done it many times. So you consider yourself lucky. Okay, we've got a pin here, little green dot there in the center. So we're going to drill that. I hope that was the right wing. You can laugh at me if it's not. I think it should be right. Wing tips up. That's what Dave said. Oh yeah, cool. Gone through the body. And I think that should be okay. Okay, we're gonna just remove that pin out of there now and extend it. Move all that paint off there as well. Okay, cool. Just going to re-drill that hole so get all the dried glue out of there. I'm running out of paper clips actually, so I need to grab some more of those. Yeah, that's the Streamlabs, mate, yeah. According to sources on the net, it's the best thing out there, so I'm just going to stick with it for now. And it's only that sort of short delay, it sort of just cuts out periodically during the video streams, but according to some guy who's paid the subscription for it, which is very expensive, it does it anyway. So I thought, oh, well, I'm not going to bother even looking at getting a subscription for that, because if it's still the same sort of quality, then I won't bother. But yeah, mate, it's still in the testing period. It's gonna have to just take its natural evolution, and things will progress slowly as technology will get better, and I think processing speeds have a big thing to do with it. So I'm just running it through my phone. So if I run it through like an actual desktop computer, it would have a lot better streaming capabilities, as in it will be a lot smoother and that kind of thing. I think most professional guys have it through an actual desktop computer. That makes a massive difference, and I don't have one, so whether I actually get one or not, I don't know. Certainly not for the moment. I'd love to have one because, well, maybe that's a bad thing. I'll probably actually be addicted to all those old Warhammer games like the Shadow of the Horned Rat and Dark Omen and that kind of thing. I'm really itching to play those games again. Let's see how successful. Oh yeah, we were. Okay, very nice. So well done, Mike. That was very good advice. Okay, so it does fit in there nicely. So after we glue that, I won't glue it as yet. I'm just going to put the other wing into place first, the tail, and make sure everything fits in there correctly. But yeah, we're sort of halfway there, guys. Okay, the next wing. Now we did put a hole into that. We already did a hole into that one, so we're going to just put a pin into that. So I appreciate it, guys, again for joining me today. So thank you again for taking the time to watch my streams and to support me. I genuinely mean that. Okay, so we'll just leave that there for now. Let that dry for a tick. Okay, this tail. We might as well just put a pin in that as well, I guess, eh? Let's find a very small pin here. Yeah, mate, yeah, Dave, please do it, mate, yeah, absolutely. For our game we're going to do, you just do it your own rules, mate. It's your house rules, mate. You just do whatever you want. I'm all good for it, anything's okay by me. Just playing is just, and playing with my friends like yourself is just, part of the enjoyment for me, so anything is fine. So, with the drafting, I'm thinking, like I said, probably at the end of the last video, just discounting all those 5, 10, 20 point items and just going between 25. I think most of it's between 25 and 50 anyway. I don't think they have really small point items anyway. But yeah, that sword I got today, that sword I pulled out today was absolutely useless. So yeah, you want your warlord to have something fairly decent, and I would say that for an opponent too. If they drew that, I'd be feeling like, wow, that's pretty lame. So don't mess up this, Josh. Okay, you're almost there. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna put in there, right? Yep, cool. Okay, dokey. Now, is that right? Just check that. Got a funny feeling that's wrong, but it can't be wrong. I think I did it this method when I first had my model, actually. Yep, that's right. Okay. Right, let's get some more paint on that wing. On the stud at least, anyway. And so this way. Oh shit, it's up there, is it? That's no good. Is it? Can't be up there. Okay, that's better. That's more of a reasonable point to drill into, so we're just going to drill straight in there. So hope you guys enjoyed your weekend so far. Is today your Sunday? Yeah, it must be, isn't it? Had that combat last another turn, you would likely have enjoyed the benefit. Your warlord would have struck first. Yeah, actually, yeah, that's true. He would have suffered a -2 to his initiative. That's true. Yeah. But then I forgot about that bloody banner, and it would have killed him instantly anyway. So that's another thing. That's another reason why I just want other people to use their own magic items, so I don't have to worry about that. I can just sort of look at my own magic items as I play and sort of concentrate on what I've got, instead of having to worry about what the other person has and their magic and all that kind of stuff. It just makes it much more confusing, and I'm sort of, you know, having to deal with lots of stuff and managing lots of things at the same time. So yeah, I think going forward, I think that'll be a lot better. And maybe also just doing games without the drafting, and let people just assign magic items through the regular way, as it should be, would be also a very good idea too. Yeah, I was yelling at my iPhone. Don't get too passionate, Jank Master. Don't worry about it. That's okay. Don't get too stressed. Everything was fine in the end. But yeah, no, thanks again, Rob, for all your moderation through today in the game, and guiding us through it, because yeah, that helped a lot, mate, and to the other people too that helped out as well. The other person was a new person. I haven't seen him before, but yeah, he had a lot of good info on the game rules and that kind of thing, which is really helpful. I did mess up the magic. I will put my hand up and say yes, I did. I've always understood it as being, and I didn't read the rules until today properly, that yes, the higher the magic level, you only get it only confers a +1 to the dispel roll for dispelling. For instance, like he's level 4, Thankful's level 4, I only had level 2 shaman, so I'll be dispelling on a 5+, and he'll be dispelling on a 3+, and the power cards just add that value either way. So I sort of messed it up, but that's okay. Didn't make a huge difference. At least we got some spells off anyway. At least Raphael got his Vermintide off. His what was the other one called? A Poison Wind or something like that. Toxic Wind or something, whatever it was. Yeah, nasty spells though. Okay, well, who won? Look, I'm just going to call it a draw, It's not really about winning or losing. It wasn't a really concisive win or loss, to be honest. And it was just like a pitch battle, so it would have been for like table quarters, and I don't think anybody solely occupied any particular table quarter. So let's call it a draw and be done with it, because the games are just meant for fun anyway, so it's not really a case of, I clearly won this battle, unless it was like a really decisive victory. Unless someone's like completely routed and destroyed completely to a man or something like that. Or it's like an objective-based one. If it's an objective-based one, then we should really work it out. And that's something I should really do at the end of the games, instead of just leaving it at the end of the 5th turn and not sort of concluding it properly, points-wise. I think a lot of people are really like that kind of aspect of the game. So let me look into that next game with Justin. For Justin especially, because we'll definitely do that, because it's just us two in the room doing it together. So we'll definitely look at victory points and that kind of thing. So expect that to happen for sure. I'm sure Justin's got a bone to pick with me over the last couple of games, and me also. We haven't had 5-6 months. It feels like that. I think it must be at least 6 months. So it'd be good to have Justin here. He contacted me today, and we just messaged for a bit, and he's all set to come. He's got my address and everything like that. So I'm really looking forward to that day next week, next Sunday. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work out so well. It just went straight through that hole there. Okay, that's okay. I'm just going to glue that tail into place and then just put some epoxy putty around it. That'll be a strong enough bond to hold it there. That's fine. No problems. Okay, the claw. So Dave said, I have an idea for doing a narratives type game similar to the ones I used to do as a youth. Well, I'll be very interested in Dave. Anything you do, mate, is gold, and so it'll be a pleasure to play, mate. So whatever you think is good, I'll be there. No problem. Okay, so this claw goes here. Okay. So it's the right-hand claw. Yeah, it's the right-hand claw that's missing, not the left-hand claw. Because that does definitely not go there. It definitely does not go there. It definitely goes here. Okay, so for that we're going to have to put a pin probably right in the center, I would say. Right here. Yeah, thanks, Bieber. Yeah, I think it's more for just fun and less. It's far less. It's not competitive at all. I don't want to make them competitive. That's an aspect of the game I don't particularly enjoy so much. But of course, people like to win and lose, and don't want to lose. And some people don't mind losing and that kind of thing. I've lost enough games to value the game as just being a fun aspect of the hobby rather than being focused on winning. But of course, winning is nice too. We don't like losing all the time. And I think the list I brought today was a list destined to not do very well. It was the most uncompetitive list you could ever make. But wasn't Throt good, wasn't he? Hey, I think Throt will definitely feature. This is Throt the Unclean I'm talking about. Definitely feature in my games with Justin on Sunday. He's quite a cool little character, that guy. I'm sure I can ensnare some of his general or some of his characters with those rat ogres. It's a slightly off-center hole, but I think it should be okay. Now, let's see if we can find some more bits here. What does Dave say? Undead marching on Eltahrion with a mad woodsman's house standing in the way of the two armies. Woodsman would just attack whoever comes near the house. Near his house, Kansas Frenzy, human hero. Okay, that sounds good, mate. Yeah, I'm all for that. Because I'll be playing the Undead. I'm looking forward to that. I've never played Undead before. I'm in search now in talks with people about getting some Undead models. Some of the classic Marauder miniature models. And some of the old Gary Morley models as well. I've got a sort of new found taste for Undead. I think it's going to be the army I do after the High Elves. It's one of these sort of classic armies. Bjorn, yeah. Sounds like him. So Kraid's frenzied human hunter. Yep, sounds like Bjorn to me. Get a drink downstairs, like a cup of tea or something. Would that be okay? If I just pop out for get a cup of tea? That claw fits in really nicely too, actually, doesn't it? Perfectly. I haven't actually cleaned that claw up, so I probably need to clean up any flash on that claw. as there is some there. But if you don't mind, I might just pop downstairs, grab a cup of tea. Be probably 5 minutes, so you guys can chat here. And I'll be right back. Always enjoy a nice cup of tea or something before bedtime. In the evenings, if I can. Quite a lot of flash there. Which Undead Army book are you going to be using? The 4th edition book. I love the 4th edition book. Yeah. Vampire Counts book. I've looked at it and I don't mind it, but I just don't like it. I prefer the 4th edition books personally. Going yet? Josh's painting challenge. Yeah, good question, Jack Master. Now the Vampire Counts book that was released at the end of the 5th edition. Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I prefer the 4th edition book over the Vampire Counts, but Justin really likes the Vampire Counts. He just likes that theme in that book. So, yeah, for me too, Dave. I think the 4th edition is the only one that exists for me. But I do respect the 5th edition one, of course, and it's brought Justin back into the 5th edition sort of flavour of the armies that he can construct using those lists. So that's great. And for like-minded people who like those kind of themed armies. And it's one thing I don't particularly like about the Renaissance lists as well, to be honest, if I'm going to be truthful about that, because you can't make a 4th ed list using those rules that he has in there for the 3 different themed armies, which is quite sad. Yeah, same goes for the High Elves too. I like the 4th edition book. I know some people don't like it and they like 5th edition book or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to have both, but yeah, 4th edition for me, mate. Just an stubborn old bloke, aren't I, eh? The 4th ed or nothing, but yeah. I do prefer the 4th ed books more than the 5th ed books. Hate Lizardmen. Sorry for any Lizardmen players out there. Any Lizard lovers? I do not like Lizardmen. John Joe will concur with that. As being a lizard lover himself. Bretonians never really did much for me, to be quite honest. But I do like looking at a nice painted Bretonian army. All that heraldry and that kind of thing on the barding and that sort of stuff look really, really nice. Okay, so I'm going to duck down. I'm going to grab a tea. So just bear with me, guys, please. I'm not going to go anywhere for a while yet, so I'm going to see this through to the end. So yeah, just give me a tick, please, if you don't mind. I'm just going to wash my hands because they're full of metal dust and that kind of thing, and make a cup of tea, and I'll come back in just a second. So just keep yourself entertained, just keep chatting. I'll be back in a minute. And I've got to charge the phone too, so just give me a second. The phone's almost out of power. Out of battery, I should say. Okay, back again, guys. Thanks for waiting. I'm going to turn this air conditioner off. That's better. It's nice and cool now. What's been happening in the chat? So here we go. Using brown stuff for the first time to sculpt Morothor's claw weapon. Okay. I'm torn between Orc and Goblins and now Skaven for the challenge. Wow. Well, you've got some nice, old Kev Adams Night Goblins there, Jank. So we'd love to see those. Love to see those painted up. That'd be quite cool. But it's an expensive army with all the troops needed. Yeah, look, it hasn't been formally announced yet, Speedboat. So don't worry, mate. You haven't missed out on anything at all. I've just Jesse and Jank had talked about doing a challenge for us, just for us in our group, and for the Hero Hammer group and Middle Hammer group if they want to do it as well, or the Renaissance group or whatever. Make it very inclusive for people who want to do 4th and 5th armies, and we're just sort of ironing out the details now and seeing how we're going to do it. But I think it's going to be, like as Jesse suggested, maybe a 12-month challenge, and in that 12 months people can paint a 2,000 point army, and each month they would have to paint 200 points per month, and then within 6 months within 6 months you can have one buy. Basically you could just opt to not do anything for 1 month. And we're thinking about monthly prizes for like raffles for people who are contributing and part of the challenge as well, as an idea. I had an idea of doing some t-shirts, but we'll see how that all pans out. But I'm generally excited about it, and I think we'll have enough people, even if there's 10 people doing it. That'd be really great. And it'd be just one of those things that sort of builds up over time. The more people who know about it, the more people get involved each year. Yep, that's right, Jank Master. That's good. Oh, the Rat Ogres have caught my interest. Well, it could be a Skaven-themed army for you, as you were the second in command general today for the for Thankful and his army. So maybe that has just intrigued you even further and taken you over the line just to start off a Skaven army. Why not? They're quite cool. They're not my favourite army, if I'm being totally truthful. But I do like some of the models from that era. I'm going to cut up some of this. There's like a little strip here of this Tamiya putty. It comes in a few different types of stuff. This is like the smooth type, I think, that we've got here. Take all this plastic. Obviously I can't finish this completely because I'm missing that claw that I need to press mold when I get the Griffon model. That's also a Marauder model from Jesse at some point. There'll be 3 parcels arriving, and at some point during this year. One from Australia, one from the UK, and one from New Zealand from Jesse. I think Jesse's will come first, and the other 2 will come, over the next few months, let's say. But each one will get their own unboxing live video, because there'll be a lot of stuff in there that I'm sure people will love to see, especially me. I've been waiting for it for a long time. So the one in the UK is just all books. It's basically all army books. It's got the Chronicles of War that I've been really looking forward to getting, and a lot of the army books from 4th edition that I don't have. And never had before, so it'd be nice to get those and just to complete the whole collection. This hasn't gone too well. Bloody sticky stuff. Just putting some water there, just to make it a bit more smoother. It's another stuff you should wear gloves for, because they're going to stick on my fingertips and I'll never get it off again. Oh, Dan, how you going, mate? How are you? Thank you very much for coming in and saying hello. It's good to see you here, mate. Engel said, I wanted to start a new army, so it would be great to be motivated. I hope you do, mate, because you're such a great painter, so I'd love to see what else you can do with your talents there. So, the Radiogre is my favourite Blood Bowl model to play. Okay, cool. I'm glad you enjoyed Blood Bowl too, mate. That's great. Speedboat, sounds great. I love army building projects like that, so that got me back into painting a few years ago. That's great. Okay, mate, well, you should be definitely inspired by what's going to come in the future. So I hope you can join us in this journey. It's quite a long haul. Like the Army Challenge is like 6 months. That's quite short, but it is for 1,000 points. It is quite demanding, but I think you'll feel better once you start doing it, because you know that you're getting stuff done. Angel says dwarves. Oh yeah, I'd love to see you do dwarves, mate. That'd be awesome. Do you have like a big army? Just mixing some more of that green in there. Then we can start putting stuff together and start putting some putting on it. Yeah, I love narratives, Dave, so mate, you be as creative as you like. I really enjoy the narrative kind of scenarios and battles, much more than just, just a stock standard scenario. So, and I would love to see, Dave, if you can, because I know you're so talented with the with Photoshop and all that kind of thing, all those programs like Adobe and all that kind of thing, and you showed me that, that stock photo that you had that you designed for the old style battle reports. If you can make something like that, man, you've encapsulated my sort of all-time dream of having our own sort of battle report in the White Dwarf style, like the old style White Dwarves. That'd be awesome. These are orders of table quarters, but can be carried and stolen like banners. The crazy woodman is just a hazard, basically. Okay, so we're going to pick up these standing stone conflagrations of doom markers. Okay, that sounds good. Yep. Yep, that sounds good, mate. I look forward to that. Now, that's going to be like next month that we're going to plan to do that. And depending how Dave wants to do it, he can either stream it live on this channel, which I think would be a good idea if he wants to do that, or he can make up his own YouTube channel and just stream it on his own YouTube channel. I don't know how he wants to do it yet. So, or just record it and upload it later. But yeah, we want to get these games up for everybody to see. Yep, July sometime. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Dave. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll schedule it how we originally planned it for. So probably towards the later end of next month would be good. And it'd be nice just to be a participant actually this time rather than a host. So I can just bring my dice and bring my armor list and then just sort of experience it from the, experience the whole thing from a player rather than a host this time. So it'd be good. I have Dave's cat in the background instead of my son, the goblin, the Snotling King. Be Dave's cat in the background there, meowing away. Okay, just gluing Eltahrion down there. Oh my goodness, that is terrible. Maybe someone already picked that up, and I haven't even got my glasses on at the moment. I can see this huge tag here of flash here. Shocking. But that's part of the old models. They had these big flash tags on the details. I think he's okay now. I really hate having to prime models and then find out I've got these big lines of like mold lines or flash markings on them or whatever. It's really disheartening for me to see that. Rightio, let's get these wings on. So the wing tips up. So this one should be this side. Now, is that going to go in there? It is going to go in there, okay. Alright, so let's get this one glued in. Do we not glue it in now, or do we not? Let's just see how hard. It'll probably be difficult for me to do it, like fix up that seam later, so I might have to do that seam now. So, let's start. Get these big gaps here filled in. All very interesting stuff, I'm sure. But it's getting done, guys. It's getting put together. So thanks, Alistair, for the idea of doing this, because I've never done an actual build on the channel before. So maybe it will be useful for some people out there who are a little bit daunted by putting together large-scale models like this, especially with the wings and that kind of thing. It's a bit difficult to do. Yep, that's right, Powerwolf. It's a really good habit to get into, to make sure everything is clean and all the mold lines are off. I've been just in my haste of just being lazy and not being thorough with certain models, and then find out later, oh no, I've got all these mold lines on them. As you probably picked up in the channel when I've been painting stuff and realized, oh no, there's a big mold line here and I've missed that. So that's just me being incompetent and just being in a hurry. So you're far better off just taking your time and making sure everything's okay before moving on. Just save you so much time trying to scrape off the primer on your models and then making a lot of mess and having to fix it all up again, and yeah, it's just a pain. biodiversity with that stuff, and it really does make a huge difference to the finishing result. It does, yeah, it does. Totally agree with that. Totally agree. I think that's my son. Hey, Bookie? Mummy? Okay, hang on. Okay, my son's just woken up, so I've just got to rush off to get him. Okay, there we go, guys. Little one's put to bed again. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you've sort of painted something and then realise you've got a big mole line on something, it's always really heartbreaking, isn't it? But it's not the end of the world, like you say. Yeah, you can fix it. It just takes time to do it. I haven't, mate. So I haven't introduced my son to Warhammer yet. You know, I've given him some miniatures, and you know, I think he likes. You know, I like bringing him into the room, and so he's not so. You know, some people like really strict about their kids being in their hobby room and that kind of thing. I don't want to be like that with my son. Like, you know, I want him to be like, you know, more aware of what I'm doing and to be aware of what, you know, all this stuff is. So I remember like when he was like maybe 1.5, he sort of grabbed a whole heap of my dwarf miniatures as I was painting them and holding up and saying, "Oh, look, Daddy, you know, look what I've got," you know, like just grabbing a whole fistful of them. Which is quite funny now, but I was like, wow, you know, hang on, don't scratch them. You know, I was really quite worried about them, but generally he's pretty good about all my miniatures, really. He doesn't actually go into my cabinets to pick stuff up out of there, which is great. You know, I think he just likes rolling the dice and that kind of thing. I let him roll the dice when we play like Advanced Hero Quest and that kind of thing. So he likes to be involved in doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, you know, definitely in the future, yeah, for sure, we'll get him doing some really sort of small, basic kind of stuff with a few miniatures here and there. And if he's interested in doing it, then yeah, that'd be great. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think Eltahrion is one of my classic, you know, all-time classic miniatures too, especially from 4th edition. I mean, it's all about Eltahrion. He's on the front cover. He's got his own little colour art cardstock in the box. Yeah, he's all about 4th edition, this guy. some more. Always make more putty than I ever use. Sort of bulk out that part of his arm here. And just with this serrated edge, or fine edge, trying to make some feather sculpted details on there, so it sort of blends in nicely. Like so. Yes, I'm glad there's some also before we fully announce it, just to find out some details, and so I get some feedback from you guys here in the community, and I think we're ready then to announce it, and then people can then prepare what they want to get done for the 2,000 points. Whoops, sorry, I just knocked the camera quite wildly there. I've got the power cord up on the phone. Sorry about that, guys. Well, yeah, I just saw it then on the video, so sorry about that. There's something out of cyberpunk at the moment. If you can look at my painting room at the moment, it's got wires and cables and computer screens and phones everywhere. Okay, now. Okay, that's going to fit there. Now, this tail. Yes, I'll put the tail on after. Actually, I might just grab a base for this guy. So I want to stick him on the base first. So I've got something to mount him on. Just give me a second. Okay, I just realised that base is going to be from one of my other old bases that's already been painted, and I put some cork on it. So I've just got to remove all that stuff off there first before I can attach it to this. So that's where that base is going to come from. So that's okay, I'll do that later. I'm not going to do it now. So what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to pin it. We're going to put a big pin on this leg here, so I can attach it to a cork base instead for priming and painting, and then I can attach it to a base later. What are the comments here? Any miniature or miniatures you feel are sorely missing from the 4th, 5th ed ranges and that haven't been done properly by other manufacturers yet? I feel I have to convert a ton of characters for my Dark Elves. There's a ton of variety, and for campaigns like Tears of Isha, I feel a lot of special models are missing. Oh, really? Do you mean like other models that haven't been produced by Games Workshop originally for 4th and 5th edition armies? Or just like alternative sculpts? Now, let's get this pin in there. Now I've got a bit of cork from here. And we can mount it on. Which would be this big bugger here, let's say. Now, looking at what else I've got in my army for the High Elf so far, I've got about 20 archers, maybe 40 archers. I need to check, but it's going to be at least 40 archers, including command groups for those. I'm just in the process of buying some or trading some command groups for them, because I've got a couple of command groups only, like the standard and musician, but no champions. And I need at least 4 of those, all up for the 4 different units. 2 units of spearmen, 2 units of bowmen. That'll be like the bulk of the army. And then later on, when I have enough cash, spare cash, I'll get the sword masters. I'd imagine that'll cost me at least $100 to get about 20 of those guys. Yeah, so my High Elves will be like very vanilla, very almost like textbook-like from the battle reports, the early battle reports of High Elves. So just the standard plastics, with some metal spearmen mixed in there as well. So I really like those metal spearmen. They're brilliant now. Like now I've got those from Georg. It sent me those metal spearmen, that lot that he sent me last time. They're absolutely beautiful models. I love them. Got to be careful not to touch the stuff I've just done. The melee part, and not to put your fingers on it. Okay, now, are we going to do this tail first, or are we going to do this tail last? Try to do the tail first. Okay, so the execution is quite rare models. I didn't know that. They're quite cool for Dark Elves, actually. I quite like those models. So I'd like to see some classic models put back into production, I think. When the old world becomes reality, I know it's set 1,000 years before the current fantasy universe, but I love that. Yeah, that's right. Or drive eBay prices down, but eBay guys, honestly, just use the Facebook groups, because they are regulated in that, the prices aren't stupid, they aren't crazy, and people get told off if they're charging way too much anyway. So yeah, that's another reason why I just avoid eBay. You can get some classic bargains on there if you're really lucky, but it's very rare that you'll do that. It's like these characters that someone mentioned yesterday that will cost €20. Well, for the Skaven characters or whatever characters they were, you might as well just go on the eBay, the Facebook groups, the trading groups, and just get one for £5, £6, £10 even, Okay, so with that in there, I'm just going to glue this one in. So I'm going to sort of hold that in position for a while. I think that's enough glue. So Dan says, the 5th edition Bretonnium range had models that were labelled to be used with the Perilous Quest campaign pack. Ah, right. Now, the Perilous campaign, that was between Bretonnia and the Wood Elves, isn't it? I think, from memory. Just looking through the PDF. Yes, the Isle of Gork had some special models. They did too. I've actually got that shaman from the Isle of Gork, which I'm seriously thinking of actually just donating as a prize support, probably for the miniature for this painting campaign. I'll probably just donate that for prize support. It's one of the models I had in my 1998 Golden Demon winning command group, but as I don't particularly like and I don't know why I bought it and painted it. I don't know why I just didn't get one of the Kev Adams shamans, but for some reason I just got that model instead. So Tessa issue didn't get the support of other campaigns. Yeah, so it was Wood Elves, isn't it? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it was a weird one, that one. I thought they would definitely do like a Bretonnia versus Lizardman one, because, you know, everyone would have had the models then. It's quite a strange choice. They decided to go with Wood Elves for that particular set. All right, let's go the full gambit and get this this other wing on too. It's coming together, guys. It's coming together. Slowly but surely. I'm back to work. Glad to stop by briefly. Okay, that didn't get new releases apart from the right High Elf front rank spearman, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I still remember seeing those, the Grudge of Drong campaign pack. I remember seeing it in a Toy World. Now, Toy World, if you're not from Australia, and I believe it's an Australian company, Toy World. It could be American, but there was one in Robina Town Centre that had just had like a really small little section for Games Workshop products back then. And I remember seeing that campaign pack, the Grudge of Drong, and I bought the Drunk Dwarf pack off the shelf because I was really, really keen on those Drunk Dwarves. But never played the campaign, so it wasn't until a couple of years ago here in Tokyo that I played the first campaign, that Grudge of Drong with a guy here. And just thought, wow, I've really missed out on something here, something really quite special. Those campaigns, they're really so much fun. Okay, so the wings are on. I think it looks okay. Is that right? Is that right, Dave? Have I made any mistakes? I hope not. I think it should be okay. Just check it out though, dude. I had a shot called Beatles and more recently Toy Town. Okay, cool. Okay, thanks, Dave. That's good, mate. Thank you. I thought that was right. I just didn't want to mark it up and then have to put all the party on and then realise I had to change something, but I think that's right. Okay, now that pin should be dry. So I'm just going to take this and very carefully now this cork was actually given to my mother, from my mother, for some very large pots of flour and that kind of thing. She's huge and massive, these green coloured tinted pots that she had at home. And I think she was throwing some out, so she gave me a whole heap of these, like 3 or 4 of them. So that's going to fit in there. I need one for this one, this leg here to sit into as well. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a hit and miss on trade groups, mate. You know, I've had pretty good experiences with trade groups on Facebook so far, thankfully. But, you know, there are sort of notorious people that maybe want to exploit it a little bit, and you know, it's up to them. It's, you know, it's their goods, and they have to, you know, price it to what they want to sell it at. It's to their own discretion, I guess. But I think most people will, you know, I suppose if it's like I want to buy something, then it's kind of like a private communication between you and the seller. But if it's someone's listing something, that's totally different. Then it's sort of like totally open, and people can see the prices, and they can sort of shout people down to say, okay, well, hang on, mate, you know, you're way overpriced here. And they've got an evaluation page for that old hammer group anyway, so people can actually lift stuff up to get, you know, sort of decent sort of prices on their items before going to the trade groups. But yeah, I think it's more of a thing like, you know, you want to buy something, and then someone says, then in private communication, people might say, oh, well, if you want it, it's going to cost you, you know, maybe double the price that you had maybe imagined it would be, or how much you would want to pay for it. Now, I forgot about this guy. Where's it going to sit? Here, isn't it? So, I'm going to do another separate pin for him to sit on there. Okay, so look exactly where that's going to be. Now for this one, I'll have to do like a pilot sort of a pin kind of thing, so I can just do a small one that sort of will guide me to a point on that part of the model on the Griffon to drill it into. And I'll have to do the gap filling on this Eltahrion rider too as well. I've missed that as well, so I need to do that in a minute. Okay. Now, that elf may have been re-released recently, if I'm not right, Jay. Oh, did they? Are you sure? Maybe. You could be right. I don't think they did, but you could be right. I'm not sure. I've got two options. One is to just take the claw off that Griffon when I get it from Jesse, right? And just use that as this claw on this model, and then press mold one for the Griffon. I mean, I'm always going to be one claw short, or I could go with the option of trying to contact them about it. Which wouldn't hurt, you know, just send them an email. I mean, I think it's incredible they sent Daniel an entirely new set, like a new kit, completely new kit, just for one missing claw. I think that's incredible for Games Workshop. from back in those days. Oh, sorry, I just knocked the camera again. Sorry about that. So, I mean, in Australia, if you had like missing parts, or there was like the Deathwing Terminators I bought back in the day, that had some issues with the molding and that kind of stuff, like the way they were cast, and they had like some imperfections on the back of them and that kind of stuff. The lady, the shop sitter said, well, sorry buddy, you know, if you want to get replacements, you'll have to contact them directly and all that kind of stuff. It didn't bother in the end. I just dealt with it, and that was it. Just painted them as is. That's cool. Okay, well that's good. I'm glad you had some good experiences with them. I've never had to, well, probably because I've been in Australia, and I've never had to notify them about any kind of mispacks or defects with the models. So I've never had to experience them through that, in that sense. I've had to buy stuff through mail order through them, and they've been fine. You know, this is back in the days of first opened the Sydney warehouse for mail order in Australia. Before retail came to Australia, they had that warehouse there. And I do remember buying a whole heap of stuff with a mate of mine, Chris, that I can't remember exactly what we bought. I think I bought some epic stuff. We bought some epic stuff together, and some dragon ogres, I think, from memory. That's a long time ago now. Okay, Hangel, thank you so much, mate, and thank you very much for being with us. I know it's quite a long stream, actually. It's gone over 2 hours now. I'm quite surprised I'm still around. I'm surprised people are still here, because they haven't been so bored with the streamers yet. So I'm glad some people are getting something out of it, so that's good. But yeah, catch you soon, mate. I'll send you a message about this old world painting challenge, and maybe we can facilitate that dwarf, that beautiful painted dwarf there you have, as a prize for somebody very lucky to win it. Ah, bugger. Bloody thing. Yeah, it was basically distortion of the back part of the Terminators, you know, the old metal Terminators, and they had that sort of fine sort of piping parts on the back. They had like a grill. It's like this sort of vent-looking thing on the back of the Terminators. Yeah, that was all sort of messed up, and when they had cast it, and it was in white metal too, actually, because it all came out of the States back then. It had, warped or diffused inside the mold or something like that, and basically, just made it a little bit ugly on the back of the miniatures. So it wasn't a big thing. I just managed to work around it and try to clean off as much as I could, and painted them anyway. I have no idea what happened to those miniatures now. I was totally obsessed with Dark Angels back in the day. Big Dark Angel fan I was. The gothic sort of look to the Dark Angels with their sort of cloaks and that kind of stuff. I quite liked it. yeah, there's not much you can do about it. Basically, instead of just re-sculpting yourself. I'm hoping this is the point where the paint was. I'll probably have marked this up. Well, we're going to find out in just a second. I think this is the spot where it was, because it wouldn't be any further back because of the wings are far too close and the legs would butt against it. So I think that's right. Okay, well, we'll have to remove this pin and put a proper long pin in there, if I have one left. I'm sort of almost out of my paper clips. I need to get a new set. So again, I'm just going to drill that hole out again. Now, normally putting together models like this would really, you know, kind of annoy me, but I quite enjoyed putting these old models together. I think I talked about with the Infinity models how much I'm sort of over putting those together now. But yeah, these models I have no complaints. Okay, so let that sit there for a while and dry. Oh, cool. So Dave, Dark Angels were your favourite too. Yeah, I just can't think about painting dark green anymore. So for my new 40k faction, I've done Space Wolves, so which is heresy if you're ever a Dark Angel player, because they hated Space Wolves. They're the biggest rivals, but yeah. I do love my Dark Angels. I just don't think I could ever go back to painting Dark Angel green or anything in dark green anymore. Just need to change. It was either that or Blood Angels. Ultramarines are just way too vanilla for me. So what are you guys painting at the moment? I know Dave's painting up his Wood Elf Mage or something, wasn't it? Gary Morley Mage. So what are you guys doing today? And my mate Damien's putting together his Orc Epic Space Marine army together now. And I'm itching to play another game of Epic Space Marine. As a lot of you probably know, it's probably my all-time favourite game. So we will try doing some kind of live stream at some point with Epic in the future. I hope that does work out, because it'd be lovely just to play that with people from time to time. But I do realise that, you know, like fantasy, playing like large rank and file models type games are much easier to move around and see on the table rather than really minute, small 6mm micro scale models. So. bloody thing to stick on there. God, what's going on with this stuff? It's not bloody sticking on anything. Come on. There we go. Bit of forceful attitude there. You know who's boss. Okay, now, I've got a bit of here. This bit here I need to do as well. Feels good putting this together though, guys. Feels really good. And yeah, this will be the second large monster I've painted recently because I did the Wyvern, of course. And I still need to finish that model because I haven't done the back banners for it yet. And the saddle too has to be finished as well because I've sort of started repainting it. Okay, now the tail. Well, this part here needs to be done as well. Okay. Yeah, that's true, mate. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the big bull. The big Taurus. Yeah, I forgot about that. It is sitting there, and I did need to finish it for Georg and send it back to him. But I know he's sending me some... very generously, he's sending me some Chaos Demons, the Bloodletters. Not Bloodletters, are they Bloodletters of Khorne? What are the guys called again with the horns and the swords? They're bipedal. Are they Bloodletters? It's been a while since I've looked at a Chaos Army book now, because the Flash Hounds, of course, are the dog type ones. I think they're called Bloodletters, but I can't remember. But he's sending me 15 of those. So that's a nice start to the Chaos Army. Yeah, Bloodletters, that's him. And then the couple of Forest Goblins, I'll paint up for them and paint up for him, and I'll send them back with that Bull Taurus guy. I'm just going to finish the rider and then do the back banner and then do a banner for it. So still a bit more work to do on that one yet. But I'll go back to commission painting tomorrow evening after work for this week. I'll go back to doing that sort of stuff. The weekend is kind of like my kind of things to do for myself. I need that time, otherwise I'll go stir crazy if I can't paint something for myself, basically. I think that tail's okay. I just don't want that tail to break off at any time. That'd be quite sad. I think it's holding on there well. Wait till that stuff dries and it'll be rock hard. Yeah, bloodletters. It would be bloodletters. It's been, well, I've just had my arm resting in my paint palette. That's something you shouldn't do because now my arm is completely covered in paint. Well done. Got a multicolored tattoo on my arm now. If you can see that, I don't know if I can get it under the camera. It's quite funny. I'm not even drunk, but yeah, I've managed to paint myself. So that was good. I'm just going to have to clean that off. Just give me a second, guys. If I can find my tissues. Where are my tissues? Here. Hopefully I'll remember to clean it off before I go to work tomorrow, otherwise people will see that on my arm and wonder what the hell I've been doing with myself over the weekend. Probably end up drunk in some kind of bar somewhere in Tokyo and got myself tattooed by some Yakuza mob. Yeah, no onsen for you, that's right. I saw a woman with a tattoo on her shoulder. No, I've got nothing against tattoos. It's not for me. I appreciate the artistry, like the tattoo artists, like in that they can tattoo somebody and not make a mistake. It'd be like my worst fear of a tattoo on her shoulder, and her like the top that she was wearing, she had like the sleeve pulled down on the side that she was showing the tattoo. It's just it's you know, in of course in Australia you see so many people with tattoos and women with sleeve tattoos and that kind of thing, which is fine. It's their own body. It's their own choice. I'm all for that. I'm not judging people in that regard, but in Japan it's really a taboo thing. So to see somebody with a tattoo is quite unusual, especially like out shopping somewhere or something like that, and they're like flaunting it, sort of thing. Usually they're hiding it. If you go to the beach here in the summertime, you'll see a lot of young women with tattoos on their feet, which is really quite looks very painful. In inconspicuous areas on their body that they would never, you would never know that they have a tattoo. It's quite weird. It was quite a bit of a shock when I first saw it, because I thought, oh, no one has tattoos in Japan, but yep, they do. Yeah, but the last time I went to Australia, I was really blown away by the amount of people with tattoos now. It's incredible. All walks of life. But tattoos on the fingers and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's become quite the norm now, eh? Like, in trends, like social, like, fashion trends or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's become very, very normal now for people to have a tattoo. It's almost like, what's wrong with you if you don't have a tattoo? But yeah, it's each person's choice. I mean, if I had to have a tattoo on my body, I think I would choose something like my family crest, like my grandfather's family crest, or something to be tattooed on my body. Maybe my son's name on there and his birth date, something like that. Something very meaningful and personal to me, I think, would be nice. I met a guy when I first started gaming, actually, back in the Gold Coast, when I was first, this is like when I was like maybe 17, 18. Went to a guy's house to play some Warhammer. I think it was Blood Bowl. yeah, when Blood Bowl was first released, we were playing some Blood Bowl, and I contacted some guy, went to his house in Southport, pretty, yeah, nice enough guy, and when I walked in, he wasn't wearing a shirt, and on his back, he had like this upside down crucifix, but it was like a massive tattoo. It was huge. Like, I thought, Jesus, you know, like that guy must have really went through some pain to get that done on his body. Get a tattoo of that size on their body. It looks really impressive. It looked really impressive. I still distinctly remember it. Yeah, some tattoos are really incredible when you see them on Facebook. Some kind of this kind of 3D, kind of illusionary tattoos they make on people. It's really impressive stuff. So yeah, but a lot of respect for the guys who do it, the men and women who do it. I'd have a Lord of the Rings tattoo probably. Yeah, I think that'd be quite nice too. I knew a lady back in Australia who had, I think she had like a Legolas tattoo or something Lord of the Rings related on her body. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something to do with Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Lord of the Rings is good too. You know, tattoos are a very personal thing, so it really depends on the individual about what they signify as being beautiful or, you know, meaningful to them, I guess. Now, I think this guy is dried now, so let's just check. Is he going to fit? Where's that bloody hole? Yeah. Is he going to fit? Oh, well, he's not going to fit. I'll drill that hole again. Oh, didn't I finish drilling that hole? Okay, that's what it was. Okay. Solid lead in there, so that's going to take a while to drill through. So check if this pin will go in there. It will. Maybe I need to shorten that pin to see. I'd like a nice deep pin if I can get it. The deeper the better, because it's just going to hold that model in a lot firmer. And if the glue does happen to break off, you can hold it in there. Now, let's see here. Oh, damn it, that tail fell off. Bloody hell. Right, pull it off. Start again. And that pin came out. You bloody bastard of a thing. Right, okay. I'm going probably too fast and too quick for my own good. That's probably what it is. And I've put my finger on some of the grey stuff. I'm just going too quickly here. Okay, well, let's just fix this up because my fingerprints there. I don't like that. Hello, Monty. How you going, mate? Thanks for joining us. Yes, here's a nice Eltahrion. So just in the process of building him at the moment. I'm sort of just rushed a little bit too fast for my own good, and it's caused some problems, even though I was making a lot of progress. But that's okay. We're just going to take a bit of a step in the grey stuff here to get some of the textures of the feathers and that kind of thing on his body. Okay. That pin, why isn't that pin... It's long enough. Why is it doing that? And that's come out as well. Wow, okay. Gee, I'm not having the best of luck with that. Alright, well, just persevere. I don't want to drill through that foot. That'd be really bad if I did that. Drill a little bit deeper. Maybe I probably should have drilled a hole back here actually, in hindsight. Just gotta be careful not to drill through that foot, because that'll really suck if that happens. Do you use super glue to temporarily hold it, or will provide a decent solid hold until the putty dried? Yeah, I use the super glue to hold it first, and then put the putty around it to seal it. I'm just moving probably a bit too fast, and that's probably why the glue's not drying quick enough, and it's not drying long enough for it to hold properly, and then that's why it's breaking off. So let's try again. I'm surprised this one came out actually, but that's okay. Get this stuck in there. Now stay in there. Don't come out. Now, that tail's going to be a bit of an issue actually, because there's quite a large hole there. If I'd like a 1 mil or 2 mil piece of wire, I could definitely fasten that in much more better. Just putting a 2 mil pin in that and just putting it straight into that gap that's already there, that already exists in that back part there as well. But I don't, so I may just have to try to just glue it again and just try it a second time. Because once that glue dries, it's going to be rock solid, and once that putty's on, it just will not come off. That's for sure. I'd be very, very surprised if it come off after that. So, just going to get this stuff out of the way. Okay. Now, let's have a second go at this, eh? You know, the thing I'm probably most looking forward to, apart from Eltahrion, is doing the silver helms, because I never really painted those back in the day. I did actually own a set of those, maybe 5 or 6 models of them, but never painted them. So they're probably my all-time favourite cavalry unit of all the armies. Probably equal to the Blazing Suns for the Empire, that I absolutely love, cavalry-wise. So yeah, they're probably the second most thing I'm looking forward to doing. And Tyrion, of course, and Teclis. They're beautiful models that have stood the test of time, I think. Okay, so I'm going to just put that to the side just for the minute. Just let that glue dry for a bit. I'm just going to put a different pin in this, much longer pin, and see if I can pin it into a section inside that Griffon. It sounds a bit crazy and wacky, but see what we can do. What's Monty saying? I've got a mostly 4th ed High Elf army, and that will immediately likely be used for 5th and 6th edition. That's in desperate need of a centerpiece model. Far too infantry heavy too. Okay, mate. Well, yeah. I would definitely suggest this, or the Pegasus. I love that Pegasus model too, the Hero on Pegasus. I think that's an outstanding miniature. That, or as a centerpiece model, or the dragon, Prince Emmerich on the dragon. That'd be a great looking centerpiece too. Very Hero Hammer if you're playing 5th edition. 6th edition, I don't know how they handled all the characters on monsters and that kind of thing. I never played it, never seen the army books for the High Elves for that. So I don't know whether they still existed in 6th edition or whether all the characters were taken out like they did with all the other army books and reintroduced later. Ooh, struck gold. I found a nice long pin. And now originally the silver helms are my favourite too. I love the old steeds with... Yeah, me too, mate. Yeah. I actually prefer them more than the... even though I love the Dragon Princes, I prefer the silver helms over them, model-wise. And they all look like... The riders look like they're out of some kind of glam rock band. The way the guys painted in the studio, I love that. You know, I think it's... They're already pretty boys. Got 30 of them? Wow, okay. You're a lucky chappy there, Dave. I don't think I'd ever want 30 of them, to be honest. I think 10 would be my sort of limit, I think, for them, for cavalry. 10 is my nice all-round number. Or 12, so you can have, 3 ranks of 4. So I've got Tyrion, I've got Mounted Mage on horseback, so I think 12 will be my target for them, all up. So at least I've got 2 ranks on a charge with the standard. I just need I do need the champion for that unit too, for the silver helms. I don't have that model yet. eBay used a wash in the green boxes of 4 of them. The green boxes. Oh yeah, in 4 of them. Yeah, 4 of them through the box. Yeah. Yeah, I think they were packaged 4 in a box, and you just bought the standard bearer and the champion separately, eh? Like all the cavalry models at that time. Yeah, I've got some horses that I got in this trade with Georg that have already been painted, and I tried to strip them back and it didn't look very good, and I think it completely ruined some of them. So it's going to be a bit difficult for me to work out how I'm going to do that, because they are already painted. So I've got 2 choices: either try to find some horses to buy them or trade them online, or just persevere with the painted ones, not strip them. Maybe take some fine sandpaper just to smooth out some of the... it's got lots of glue and stuff on them that I need to remove first. Maybe with my little Dremel I can do that. Wash them, clean them up as best I can, then prime them again and just see how they turn out. If they turn out okay, then I can use them and paint them and use them for those guys. But if they turn out horrible, then I'm just going to have to bite the bullet on those and just buy some new horses. I do want the original ones too, not those awful looking new elven steeds they brought out. I just can't stand those ones with the Elvis Presley hairdos. Oh, nice. Okay. 8 Knights Panther. Very cool. I love those models too, mate. Yeah, that's great. Are you part of the Hero Hammer group, Mr. Scrooge? Excuse me. If so, mate, you should post those up on there and show us. Okay, so the tail's got a much longer pin. I think it's holding a lot better this time, so I'm just going to glue that in there. Leave that there for now. I am going to try to attempt to put some putty on it before that dries. Apart from that, no, I've just got to re-glue that pin in there too. So I'm just going to put that to the side here. Trying not to put too much pressure on any of the joins. I don't want anything else breaking at this point. That'd be really bad. Oh, okay, you are a part of it. Okay, so mate, so if you I don't know if you've already posted them up already, but yeah, if you want to post up your work in progress shots, that'd be great. I'd love to see it. Just tag me in it. Just tag me in the post if you like. Okay, try that again. Just let him dry there. Yeah, so I'm going to paint this in the original colour scheme. And I do need to attach a banner on there as well. I've got to do a lot of banners actually, for a lot of different models. So maybe we can do that in a live stream in the future, just do a banner. If you guys want to do that. I've got to do one for Gorfang, Rotgut. I've got to do one for, well, I've got to do 2 for that Wyvern. I've got to do one for Crag the Grim for my dwarves. I've got to do the set for the Throne of Power. How's the Old Army Challenge army going? Mate, I've got the Minotaurs here. I haven't actually started them, so that's something I'm going to have to do this week. I'm going to have to start on it because time is running out again. I can't believe it. Time's just flying by. I can show you these in the here now. So this is one of the Minotaurs, a really classic one. This is actually I remember seeing this one in the Advanced Hero Quest. Was it the box set of Advanced Hero Quest, maybe? Or is in one of the White Dwarfs for Advanced Hero Quest? But yeah, he's a really nice looking model. So he's going to be painted in the Slanesh colours, so I look forward to doing that. There's 3 of them. This one's smaller one. Holding his little hammer. Looks like a little mallet you sort of tenderise meat with, isn't it? Yeah. He looks quite cool. So they shouldn't take long to do. And I really wanted to paint them up before Jesse has a game with me remotely with his Chaos Army, because I want him to have some Minotaurs in that list that he can take. And I love this one. I think this is really cool. He's got that sort of, yeah, he's sort of blinded by that that head garment that he's wearing. That's quite cool, but I love all these little, you know, very punkish style straps around his wrists. He's actually very, very Slanesh in style, I think, too. He's got a little G-string on. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, really nice models. So yeah, I look forward to painting those up. So I'll definitely start on these this week. For sure. So yeah, but this is the last month, mate. This is the last month. So I'm so happy to have done the 6 months and got that done. But it's not over yet. I need to get those painted, so I can't say it's done until I finish those. But yeah, Jesse is just like killing it big time. Like he's finished it already. So he's just used this last month as a buy. So he's going really well. Now that's not going in there well, is it? Okay, well, I'm going to just wiggle it here a little bit. I probably should have done this before I put the wings on. And all the other bits on there as well, because that's what broke the tail off last time when I did this. I probably should be drilling it at a slight angle, because it's going to sit on a slight angle, that pin. I don't really want to shorten that pin any further, because I think that pin size is pretty good. Yeah, it's been a bit of a pain now. Being a right pain. Oh, we'll go in there, will you? Oh, very nice of you. Thank you. It's going in there. There's just some reason why it's just very, very hard to... Yeah, for 3rd edition Chaos Man, like it's not... I've painted well over 1,000 points. I've painted like... I reckon close to 3,000, 4,000 points for that Chaos Army for 3rd edition. Yeah, I think it's sort of slightly discouraged painting Chaos Armies. Not discouraged, but you know, I think it's a bit of a cop-out that you paint Chaos for that army challenge because it's so easy to do. Why is it not going in there? It's very frustrating, this. It went in there just a second ago. What's going on? Oh, God. Eltahrion, what are you doing to me? Yeah, check the cod piece, that's it. Something out of Blackadder, isn't it? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Blackadder. Do you guys know Blackadder? There were 4 series. Rowan Atkinson starred in all of them. And the first one was set in the Dark Ages, I think. Okay, it's on. Thank God for that. It's on. We've made contact. So it'll be painted separately. I won't glue it on there, but it'll be painted separately. And now I was going to put this on here so I could get a sense of how it's going to look, because I've got a feeling it's too far back. It should be pushed up further, so I'm just going to push it up, push it up, push it up. That's a lot better. I don't want it sort of sitting so it's sort of reclining back in his chair. I want it propped up, Hero Hammer style. Okay, so that looks a lot better. So I have to bend that pin to get it to the position I want it. Once it's glued in there, it'll be fine. It's going to have a bit of play in there now, but you get the idea. Okay, so of course it's missing that claw there, which is on its way, if you didn't know that. And yes, you can use rare earth magnets on each of those. That's perfectly fine. Of course, rare earth magnets are more of a common hobby thing now. They weren't back in the day. But yeah, it's a really good thing to get into, using magnets. I recently got into using them for A Song of Ice and Fire, using those plastic miniatures on those trays, because they were just a pain in the butt. And they used to fling off there if you didn't if you didn't pick up the tray properly. So that's when I sort of got into magnets. But yeah, they're a good thing for metal models. I use them for my flying stands for my epic Space Marine stuff for the dwarves. Okay, so yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with how he's sort of propped up there in position, so I can take him off. And we're going to paint him separately. Yep, cool. Okay, that's good. We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm going to have to get that base sorted out. So I'm gluing on the base. And then just sort of blue tack that base onto this cork. So before that, I just want to fix up this tail. The Bean, Mr. Bean. Mr. Jankmaster. If you haven't heard of Mr. Bean, I suggest you go on YouTube and check out Mr. Bean. Yes, and that's Rowan Atkinson. So he was responsible for Blackadder as well. You Hero Hammer projects because it takes you back to those times. And I feel like watching it now, actually. Now talking about it, I really feel like watching the old Blackadder again. I think most of those episodes are available on YouTube. You can find them there. So happy to see the terrain tutor back again. Mel is back on the YouTube this morning. And I just caught the last 10 minutes live with him, with his son. So it's nice to see Mel's back again after his chronic back pain and all that he was suffering recently. So some texture there. There's fur around his tail. Baldric is your spirit animal. Yeah, Baldric, yeah. He's a unique beast, old Baldric, that's for sure. Tony Robinson, yeah, he's part of that Time Team program on the BBC. Maybe you know about that. Maybe you've seen it somewhere in the States or in other parts of the world. But yeah, he's a really nice man, that Tony Robinson. I really like. I've got a lot of time for him. And yeah, it's like an archaeology show, and they went to do all kinds of digs around England to find all these mostly Roman settlements and sites and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I noticed that Time Team's still going around. They're still on. They're doing all kinds of documentaries, history documentaries and that kind of stuff. So, and I think, guys, that is that. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I really enjoyed talking and communicating with you guys and interacting with you, as always. And I am very sincere in my thanks to you for doing it with me. It's like, you know, I know it's not like having you guys here physically, but it's nice to have you guys here communicating and talking amongst yourselves or talking with me as we do this stuff together. It's nice. It's really good. It's you know, because I always say that the hobby can be quite lonely for people. So these kind of sessions we can have together is only good for our sort of mental health, I think, as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly have. I'm really happy that this guy is put together, -1 claw. So that's the final sort of look to Eltahrion assembled. And yeah, I'm really happy with that. And I hope you guys had some good hobby time tonight or in the morning, wherever you are. And you got made some progress on whatever projects you're working on. And maybe you're thinking about, as we talked about before, the army challenge and what armies you want to paint for it, or maybe buy for it, whichever the case might be. But yeah, it'd be good to see what you guys come up with and surprise me with later on. Thanks Speedboat. Thanks very much for being part of the whole stream, mate. It's been good to have you here. And likewise with everybody else. But yeah, I'm going to leave you guys to it. So thank you once again. Take care, guys. Have a really good evening or good day. Maybe you're going to enjoy your Sundays now, yeah? Okay, thanks, mate. Yeah, take care, Dave. I will get some sleep, mate. Yeah, I'm going all old school, buddy. No, none of this modern stuff. It's all going to be sand and goblin green, my friend. Okay, take care, Powerwolf. Take care, Jankmaster, if you're out there. Take care, Monty. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Now, the next one will be probably next weekend, guys. I think that's a good idea, just doing it once a week. And I'll do 2 or 3 over the weekend. Okay, so take care, guys. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, have a good week. Bye-bye.